commercial features and trap beats, man, I know some of the boom bap fanatics gotta be infuriated. What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Muff. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button, as that is greatly appreciated. So, Westside Gunn, the Fly God, the curator of Griselda, and I guess you could say the king of contemporary boom bap, is back with his first release of the year, right on time for Halloween and hoodie season. Now, going into this album, Gunn has said publicly that he was going to experiment with more trap flavored beats this time around because he didn't want people to box him in as strictly a boom bap artist, which I can understand. And it is his follow-up to his critically acclaimed Pray for Paris, which had dropped back in 2020. But if you went into this new project expecting a continuation of those vibes sonically, then you're in for a rude awakening because the Fly God is in his trap bag heavy on this album. And then You Pray For Me is a long album with 21 songs lasting approximately an hour and 15 minutes. But with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track by track breakdown. The opener, Fly God did, features some thoughtful words from A.A. Rashid to set the tone, as he typically does at the beginning of Westside Gunn album. Track 2, Mama's Primetime, features J.I.D. and Conway the Machine, and it's backed by a grimy, hard-hitting instrumental from Beat Butcher that is very signature Griselda. I like Gunn's energy on the opening verse, but it was J.I.D. who really killed it. And I found it refreshing to hear him rap not only over boom bap, but to also link with Griselda. Conway closed out the track with a short but solid verse. Yeah, as a whole, this was a punchy way to kick things off that I feel most Griselda heads will approve of. Track 3, Costas, features Benny, Gunn, and The Machine going in over a tense Tay Keith instrumental. Yeah, this would have sounded inconceivable back in 2018 to picture Griselda and Tay Keith, but hey, I'm all for it. Now, Benny sets this off with a dope verse, really sounding quite agile over this production. Gunn, on the other hand, did not. He was really offbeat, and it was unfortunate because this could have been a better song. Conway also had the potential to kill it, but he was rapping lethargically. Now, in fairness, he did preface it at the beginning by saying that he was just coming down from an anesthesia, which does explain why he could sound so sluggish, but like, couldn't they have waited 2 hours to record it at least? Ultimately, Benny was the MVP, but yeah, I was expecting more from Conway and Gunn's performances. Track 3, 1989, is a highlight featuring DJ Drama and Stove God Cooks. Now, this has a very trippy, nocturnal vibe that is dark but still sleek. Westside Gunn's verse is barely intelligible due to the distorted vocal effects, but it does add to the bizarre and experimental feel to the record. But it was Stove God Cooks who was the real highlight. He was in his bag, from the unique hook to his half-sung, half-trap delivery. Altogether, it's a rich, dope boy anthem and a banger early on. Following this is Suicide in Selfridges with DJ Drama once more. We are getting this quirky boom bap beat from Conductor Williams that is gritty but also chic. There is more shouting from DJ Drama, giving the track that raw mixtape-like aesthetic. Yeah, as a whole, no complaints here, as it does remind me of something off one of the more recent Hitler Wears Hermes release. Next is Kitchen Lights with Stove God Cooks, and it's likely to be a fan favorite. This is set to some elegant strings that are very cinematic, and we have a soothing hook from Stove God. Here, Westside Gunn's verse is pretty vivid, and Stove provided that comical coke talk that we have come to expect. He raps, "We had 100 bricks on the couch. It felt so good, I wanted to die there. So many kilos piled up, I could climb here." Right after is Fly God 2 Times, which has a sparkling boom bap production from dope Mickey beats. This really hard to dislike. Gunn sounds right at home over this standard production. Now, it is a brief song that did feel more like a snippet But I did like Westside Gunn's flex. You never ate Ruth Chris in the cell. Then there is Don Hill with Rick Ross. The beat from Miguel the Plug almost has a Lex Luger like feel. The horns do go pretty hard, but unfortunately, Westside Gunn does not give us a strong performance vocally. Yeah, the man couldn't find a good pocket here to save his life. But thankfully, Rick Ross acted like he gave a shit and saved the record from being completely trash. It's still a shame, though, that Gunn's part couldn't have sounded better because I did like this beat. The subsequent song is House of Glory with Stove God Cooks, and it is produced by the legendary RZA, who gave us a dreamy soul backdrop. It is more minimalist, contemporary sounding production from the RZA. There's even a slight pause right after the beginning of the vocal sample, which I wish he just would have let play through. Gunn did sound normal on this record, playing to his strengths, but it was Stove God who dominated, giving us more witty coke bars, even with the slight motivation. One bad brick don't stop the show. We still cooking. So in the comment section, let me know, does this one lone RZA beat give Wu-Tang heads the confidence that RZA would be hungry enough to do some songs on the next Wu project? Let me know. Track 10 is JD Wrist, and it's a posse cut with Stove God Cooks and Estee Nack set to an outer space-like trap beat from Fly God Jr. and Chopaholics. Stove God murders the hook and supplies a dope verse, and Westside Gunn doesn't sound quite as awkward over this particular beat, fortunately, but strangely. We get a verse from Estee Nack that is barely audible. I'm not sure why it sounds like he was rapping 30 feet away from the mic, but it didn't sound good. And I gotta be honest, before I looked at the track list, I thought it was Beanie Sigel rapping. I mean, the more recent Beanie after him being shot. Immediately after is Disgusting with Gigs, produced by Miguel the Plug, and it has what I would describe as a quintessential Gigs type beat. You know, the dark, spacious London drill beats that he's typically featured on. Now, Gunn didn't sound terrible here, but there wasn't anything too memorable about the track that would make me want to revisit it. But the following song, Chloe with Ty Dolla $ign, is sure to be the most polarizing song on the album. Now, personally for me, I'm still on the fence with this song. Initially, I thought it was the worst one, but after more listens, I do find some appeal, strangely. On paper, it does read like a crossover track, but there's still the off-kilter, rugged production from Denny LaFleur that makes it still sound Griselda. But imagine for a second, though, what this would have sounded like if they had Ghostface as a feature. Think about it. But still, Chloe is likely to be hardcore Griselda fans' least favorite song without a doubt. Track 13, LL Bullgun, has a nocturnal trap beat from Miguel the Plug that's a little wavy and psychedelic. Gunn surprisingly sounds decent over this beat, and the hook is catchy. Yeah, for some reason, I think I like this song. Following this is another standout, Babylon Biz, with Stove God Cooks and Keisha Plum. This will be one of the purist's favorite songs, hands down, from the twinkling boom bap production from J.R. Swift's to the stellar verse we got from Stove God Cooks. It's almost impossible to hate on. Stove does come through with some sharp lines like Kilo rappers drop on marble floors, caught lightning in a bottle on Marcy, then West turned me into an art piece. Shine a sun on me, I'm feeling like Dan Marley. Then there is Ultra Griselda with Denzel Curry, and it's an aggressive late night banger. I love Denzel Curry's energy and his hook. Gunn, on the contrary, came across as sleepy and lost in the beat. Yeah, this one had more potential, but it was cool to hear the two collab nonetheless. Track 16 is Jalen Rose with Bodie James, and it's one of the highlights indeed. We have Derringer on the boards providing a spooky off-kilter instrumental, and Bodie is supplying the heat with his verse happily. Westside Gunn's verse was effective enough and his energy was on point enough. Afterwards is Steve and Joni with ESTG, and it's set to this icy Take Keith instrument. Gunn's performance actually didn't sound half bad, but it wasn't great either. And even ESTG sounded a bit unenthused here. I think Key Glock would have been the appropriate feature for this beat. Man, so many people still sleep on Key Glock. I feel he is the best current trap artist, hands down. Track 18 is Mr. Everything with Jeezy, and it has an attractive trap instrumental from Forever Rollin' that just screams Atlanta. Gunn's bars were solid in fairness, and perhaps his flow was a bit better here, but Jeezy ended up dominating and making it look easy. Following this is Freddie J's with Detroit rapper Peasy, and this is set to a gritty piano trap beat from Miguel the Plug. It's high quality street music with some high energy drops from DJ Holiday, which gave the track more of that raw mixtape feel. The second and last track is The Revenge of Flip's Leg with a wild title, and it's one of the hardest songs, no doubt, from the maniacal keys courtesy of Conductor Williams to the fiery Rome Street's verse. Yeah, this is one of the ones that traditionalists gotta love. Rome Street's definitely snapped, flexing more of his innate chemistry with Conductor Williams. Then this album wraps up with And Then You Pray For Me, and it's the most experimental Westside Gunn song by far, but it doesn't feature Westside Gunn. We get a wavy, slower instrumental and melodic vocals from KC, who I'm not familiar with, but I feel he did a decent job. This just didn't sound like Griselda in the slightest. Rather, it could have been a bonus song from, let's say, Travis Scott's Utopia. So overall, I'm gonna give this project a rating of a strong 3 to 3.5 mics. At times, I feel Westside Gunn successfully merged the best of both worlds on this album. With trap and boom bap. And I do applaud him for branching out sonically and dabbling in a bit of a different lane, even though he might have OD'd on the trap beats just a little bit. And I feel he did so intentionally to prove a point, you know, which is fine. Now, honestly, I did not have a problem with the trap beats on this album. It's just that Westside Gunn ended up being the weakest link on all of them, essentially. Often sounding offbeat, sleepy, or just unable to find a good pocket, which was frustrating because the beats weren't bad, and the features were mostly solid throughout. I didn't care for Estenak's overly hushed vocals, but Stove God was the MVP. Rome did his thing. JID killed it. Benny and Bodie bodied it. Hell, even Rick Ross showed up, sounded decent, and Denzel Curry did a good job, and Ty Dolla $ign didn't ruin anything. But even if Westside Gunn was to flow better on these trap instrumentals, which is something I feel could have happened had he maybe spent a little more time practicing, I still feel, though, that the track list has some filler and it could have been trimmed down somewhat. Now, was this project as disappointing as some hardcore boom bap heads stated? No, but I didn't find it to be nearly as strong as his last few drops, that's for sure. Yeah, at the end of the day, this is going to be Westside Gunn's most polarizing album to date, even though it is his boldest and most ambitious yet. My favorite tracks include Mama's Primetime, 1989, Suicide and Selfridges, Kitchen Lights, Fly God 2 Times, House of Glory, Babylon Biz, Ultra Griselda, Jalen Rose, Freddie J's, and Revenge of Flip's Leg. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. It's your boy Mixtape Mob signing out. As always, is peace and blessings. Westside Gunn, and then you pray for me. One.